Hello and welcome. I'm Blair Blackwell, and this is the Daily Market Brief. Let's catch up on what's moving in markets today.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, January 27, and this is the Daily Market Brief for the London Open. Two themes set the tone: a softer US dollar and firmer safe haven metals on policy and shutdown worries, and a busy trade and policy backdrop from Europe to Asia, with sterling firming ahead of the Bank of England while the yen stays on the back foot. Starting with macro and policy, the dollar is under pressure as talk of a U.S. government shutdown picks up, and markets lean toward a steady Federal Reserve this week with limited new guidance. That's helped the euro retain an upward bias after several days of gains, even if momentum is cooling near familiar resistance. The pound continues to grind higher on stronger UK retail sales and business surveys, and with the Bank of England expected to hold rates, the focus is on language rather than action. In Japan, the yen remains soft, despite a more hawkish central bank outlook, with investors fretting over fiscal strains tied to ambitious spending and tax plans. Minutes from the Bank of Japan arrive tomorrow and could shape the next move in yen crosses. On geopolitics and trade, India and the European Union have closed what New Delhi calls a landmark free trade deal, underscoring the EU's role as India's largest trading partner and adding a constructive thread to global trade. In contrast, tensions ticked up around South Korea, with Washington threatening and reportedly moving to lift tariffs on some goods, prompting Seoul to fast-track legislation tied to its U.S. investment pledge in an effort to de-escalate. China, meanwhile, appears in no rush to answer U.S. tariff rhetoric ahead of a planned leaders' meeting, while in Europe, the UK Prime Minister's reported trip to Beijing highlights the delicate balance between security concerns and economic interdependence. Turning to commodities and markets, gold is hovering near record territory, underpinned by safe haven demand and a weaker dollar, and silver has rebounded after sharp swings, reflecting the broader bid for defensive metals. In India, local gold prices are firm as well. Asia's equity mood remains constructive, with global banks noting strong capital inflows, brisk listings, and cross-border activity, adding a supportive backdrop for risk assets, even as trade frictions simmer. In currencies and key pairs, USD/JPY is buoyant as yen softness persists on fiscal worries, and UR/JPY has recovered with that theme. GBP/USD is holding gains but looks stretched in the short term, while Euro/USD keeps a gentle upward slope. USD/INR sits close to its recent peak, though optimism around the India-EU deal may be limiting further dollar upside there. Looking ahead, today's calendar is relatively light. The near-term focus is the Federal Reserve's decision this week, the Bank of Japan minutes tomorrow, and the Bank of England's policy signal later in the week. What I'll be watching today: the euro against the dollar, looking for the uptrend to persist if shutdown chatter lingers and the Fed stays cautious. Sterling against the dollar, still skewed higher on UK data, but I'm watching for a pause if overbought conditions bite. Dollar-yen, where fiscal questions in Japan keep the yen pressured, favoring an uptrend. Gold against the dollar near the highs, watching whether safe haven demand can sustain momentum. And dollar-rupee near record levels to see if trade optimism around the India-EU deal caps further dollar strength. The takeaway: risk appetite has improved at the margin, but it's riding alongside safe haven flows and policy uncertainty. Markets are optimistic, but still careful.
That's it for today's edition of the Daily Market Brief. Thanks for listening. I'm Blair Blackwell. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice, trading recommendations, or investment guidance.